Well, there's a talking point. Someone we talked up at the start of the show has ended up with the 6th hat-trick in World Cup history. And very interestingly, the second Irishman to do so. There's only one country that features twice in the list of World Cup hat-tricks, and that is Ireland. Curtis Campher was the first, and now Josh Little picks it up against New Zealand. At the very start, let's have a look at this list. A proud list to be on. Brett Lee the first in the inaugural edition in 2007, and then we had nothing forever until we reached Dubai, and then it was Curtis Campher, Hasaranga Kagiso Rabada, and then in the build-up to this particular tournament, Kartik Meyyappan against Sri Lanka, and then Josh Little in a crucial game against New Zealand picks up 3 wickets after going wicketless in his first 3 overs. Wonderful achievement. Welcome to Cricbuzz Live as we look back at the first 20 overs of New Zealand's batting. They've put on a decent total, but you'd still have to say that the Irishmen can walk off with their heads held high, because at one point when it looked like they could get to even more than that, it's a total I think they've kept them down to, but maybe New Zealand won't be too unhappy with it. Let's find out from our expert panel, Joy Bhattacharjya and Michael Vaughan. Michael, how do you, of course we'll talk about Josh Little in a moment. In isolation, how do you assess the total? 185.
Oh, it's a good total. I mean, I think it looks a good pitch. Looks kind of wicket that when the ball gets a bit older, it's not as easy to strike. There wasn't a great deal of movement through the air, so I think New Zealand have played okay. I think they could have gone a bit more aggressive a bit sooner. Kane Williamson is proven that, you know, once he unleashes his shackles and just allows himself to play shots, you know, he's a wonderful player. You know, I thought he gave himself a chance. I think he's that kind of player. I don't think he's ever going to be a T20 player that goes out there and strikes it from ball one, but he's got to have the ability like today after 15, 20 balls to suddenly go up into the gears like we saw towards the back end. A really good innings from Kane. Yeah, the pitch is good. I think it's just above par. The one thing I can say about this wicket, because of the nature of it, and, you know, the spin is just getting a little bit of action, it will not be easy for Australia to go and hammer Afghanistan on this kind of wicket. No way. I mean, when you think of that trio of Afghanistan spinners who are world class, I just don't know how Australia are going to have enough in terms of power to really hammer an Afghanistan side on this wicket. We'll wait and see later on in the afternoon, but yeah, just above par, I would say, by about 10.
Well, since he's mentioned Kane Williamson, I think we should just get straight to Kane. We were sitting with our Hindi experts, and as we walked in there, Kane was 15 of 15. We were like, we told you so. And Ajay Jadeja came back and asked, what are you talking about? What strike rates? I mean, it takes 2 balls to change that completely. He went from 15 of 15, next 2 balls, 6 and a 4. He was suddenly 25 of 17, which looks a different story.
True. The problem is that you can't change it that much if you have 14-40. Then even if you hit 2 fours, you'll be 48 and 42, and the difference is not so marked. So the lower the total, the more marked it is. But I think the point that he's making is that, and what Michael was saying is, he's never going to be the kind of guy who's going to blast first ball. He's never going to be Surya Kumar Yadav or Glenn Phillips or do a 360 right up front. But if he does normally, if he's last those 10-15 balls, he can give you real power in the end, because not power so much as timing, as field positioning, understanding of field positions. And he was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the number of 4s and 6s that he hit towards the end, I mean, 5 4s, 3 6s. He actually, in that 15, he had just 1 4. So after that, he hit 7 boundaries, out of which 3 are 6s. And I think he understood the conditions very well. He played the field for what it was. And this New Zealand team, what happened after that? Glenn Phillips goes and plays exactly like Glenn Phillips is meant to play. Daryl Mitchell, all of them have given you those micro contributions coming in where there's not too much time. So they started getting going from ball 1. So a Kane innings can work if these other guys keep going from ball 1. And I think that's what got them so far. They would have got to 200 had it not been for an extraordinary spell of fast bowling. 44 in, basically you gave away 45 in 3 overs. And then the last 2 overs, you just gave away 12, just thanks to some absolutely amazing bowling in the end.
And just to draw a parallel, we were talking about the other day a few cameos, but not one big innings. In a sense that 61 of 35 is the big innings with the cameos around it, sort of like a Kohli gets a half century and you've got the likes of Hardik and Surya and KL Rahul contributing with a 30 or 15 or 18 balls.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the New Zealand innings today worked well. I mean, as Joy mentioned, apart from a hat trick, and you've just seen the list, there's been quite a few of late, but in the history of T20 cricket, you don't get that many. Brilliant bowling from Little, who we mentioned before the show, but away from that, those last 2 overs, New Zealand would have got beyond 200. So you'd say it's a perfect batting display. They had little cameos, they had the start, they've had the finish in terms of Mitchell, and they had the captain producing the magic. And that's what he has to do. If he's gonna chew up 15 balls to get to 15, he has to go on. He has to go and get the 15. He has to accelerate, and he has to go up in the gears. And today was a perfect style innings for Kane Williamson. If you look at 40 from 40 against England, well, he's 61 from 35 today because he got going. He got into his gears. He put pressure on the spinners, and then he started to find the boundary in terms of the sixes towards the back end. So in terms of the way that Williamson plays, I think that was his, it's pretty much his DNA. That's exactly how he plays T20 cricket at his best. And if it had been there in the 20th over, I'm sure he'd have got an 85 or 90 and got New Zealand to over 200. So he's just got to go up in the gears. Once he's faced those 15 balls and got in, he's then got to go like he did today. I thought it was a perfect innings by him, perfect innings by New Zealand. And if it wasn't for that brilliant finish by Allen with the ball, they certainly would have got over 200.
Oh, they were definitely looking at that. If you see the innings progression, maybe slightly halted by that Josh Little hat-trick, but still, it was the kind of progression that you'd want to see. They got over 200 in the opening game against Australia. They really came out and blasted it there. But today, it was a case of just making sure they're going to pick up those 2 points. And yes, it's 57 for 3, but really the 57 that they got over there would have probably been 77.
Yeah, exactly.
But nonetheless.
Absolutely, 45 in this. But another very interesting innings, and I want to say that this is something you'll see only with New Zealand and in conditions like this. Daryl Mitchell's 31 of 21. So if you look at a typical 31 of 21, it's normally you'll have a couple of fours, couple of sixes, and a lot of dot balls. This is an innings where he had just 2 fours. Okay, so 31 of 21 with 2 fours means lots of running. And you look at it, he's got 3 twos in the last over. And that's one thing New Zealand does very well, even when they don't force the boundaries. In larger fields in Australia, and this doesn't happen so much in the subcontinent or in Asian conditions, they really force the pace and that extra fitness. So that 31 of 21 with just 2 fours is a classic innings where even when you don't get the boundaries, you can keep that strike rate up to 150 by just running hard all the time and making sure you don't give away too many dot balls.
Yeah, and again, if you look at the Ireland bowling, they might feel that hat-trick has sort of kept it down. They may feel they're still in the hunt. Over 200 psychologically just seems to get over that barrier. But the economy and the wickets for Josh Little. Remember, he was wicketless in his first 3 overs and then came and picked up the wickets. Adair came back well. He was very expensive in his first spell. But they picked their bowlers. They went after Hand and McCarthy. And once again, Delaney and Dockrell were very decent. But one more little stat to throw about Josh Little. Most wickets in T20Is in a calendar year. And he's right up there. 39 wickets he has picked up in 2022. Have just jumped on the Cricbuzz app ahead of the likes of Lamichhane, Hasaranga, Tabrez Shamsi, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar is in there. So again, Michael, yes, today he may have got a hat-trick. But if you look over the span of an entire calendar year, if he can be right up there, then that just shows his consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd want to be his agent. he's going to get a few phone calls, I'm pretty sure, over the next week or so to have an early stage conversations for a few of these leagues. He's a wonderful bowler. He's just got nice release. He's got skill. You look at those two. I mean, you look at the hat-trick. He's got Williamson, world-class performer, and then you've got Neesham and Santa, 2 real high-quality middle-order left-handers. And those 2 dismissals for the left-handers were perfect. Just a little bit of angle in, almost did them both for pace, trapped them on the crease. A brilliant display of bowling. Throughout the whole World Cup, we look at all the teams. We also look at individuals who step up to the plate and really kind of, I call it the share price as a player. Whose share prices as a player has risen. Well, you'd say that Joshua Little's it's had a spike. It's had a nice spike. It's like the energy companies over here in the UK. They're doing pretty well. It's very similar to Joshua Little.
Yeah, and you've got to say, I mean, we look at a lot of hat-tricks, and there will be the odd hat-trick particularly in T20 cricket, where all 3 of them have gone miles up in the air and somebody grabs it millimeters from the boundary. Yes, the first one was Williamson caught on the boundary, but the other 2, as Michael just mentioned, were top quality balls that you've got decent players who, I mean, Santner didn't even get the bat down.
No, absolutely. One is pace. The other is knowing that, right up, first ball, your feet don't move. You're right up. You've just walked in there and you're trying to slog the ball. So it's not as if your feet will follow the direction. So he knows that if he gets it fast enough and straight in, he could get the stumps or he could get an LBW. And I think it was smart bowling, getting that slight bit of an angle into them and just making sure that they were pinned to where they were, not giving them the length that they could really stride forward, holding them back in their crease. And I think he did brilliant. So that's what I'm saying. It's not just a bowler who's done well. It's a bowler who's thought through what I need to do in these conditions. And I think that's what differentiates him from just being a good bowler. He's a thinking bowler as well, and that's important in this format.
Well, the share price might have gone up, but if you remember, also something we do in our pre-game show is try and get a little prediction out. This time, Michael Vaughan had 180, I had 190, and we've fallen smack bang in the middle at 185. So I guess, Michael, we're going to need a bit of a tiebreaker, a bit of a bowl out in a sense. How about a power play prediction for Ireland's total when they chase the score?
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to go 40. I think the New Zealand attack might just restrain him a little bit, so I'm going to go 40.
40, okay. I'll just go a little bit lower at 34. I'll go a little bit lower at 34. So, Joy?
I'm not participating.
Yeah,
this is a super over. This is a bowl out. This is a bowl out.
All right, fair enough.
Englishman, being super over predictions is, an old game for us. So go for it.
40 versus 34 to try and break that tie. But yeah, it was a total that looked like it could have gone to around 200. Josh Little kept it down. Daryl Mitchell two'd his way to get them to 185. So it's a stiff target. But also the important target for New Zealand is to keep them down. All they need to do is keep them one run less. It's all that matters to them. Net run rate doesn't. It's already way up there. They need the 2 points. That's absolutely critical. That's all we have here on the show. As the Irish batsmen are already out there, we will catch up with them in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox and then see how everything goes at the end. For now, from Joy, Michael and myself, that's all on Cricbuzz Live.